It's 2 a.m. Someone's trying your back door. You're upstairs, half asleep, and the only thing standing between them and your TV is your dog. Now, here's the question nobody actually answers honestly. Not, is this breed protective, in some abstract sense. Specifically, what does your dog actually do in that moment when a stranger is moving through your house at 2 a.m.? Because I've looked into this. Owner accounts, security footage, breeder testimonials. And the answers range from genuinely terrifying to absolutely embarrassing. Stick around for number 4, because that one personally hurt me. The German Shepherd is probably what most people picture when they imagine a protection dog at home. And in theory, they're right. A German Shepherd that's been properly socialized and has a confident owner will alert the second something feels wrong. Not just barking at the noise, but tracking it, moving toward it, putting itself between you and the door. They've been doing police and military work since the early 1900s, and that instinct to work alongside humans against a threat is genuinely deep in this breed. The catch is the word properly. A German Shepherd that's been babied, undertrained, or anxiously raised is a completely different animal. I've seen footage of GSDs backing into corners while their owners dealt with an intruder. The potential is there. Whether it shows up depends almost entirely on how the dog was raised. A trained GSD, though, that's a serious problem for any robber. They don't just bark, they commit. The Rottweiler doesn't need a lot of words here because the reaction is pretty straightforward. Low growl, doesn't move, eyes locked, waiting. That's somehow scarier than barking. A dog that's screaming at you is stressed. A Rottweiler standing completely still, tracking every movement you make, making no noise. That dog has already decided what it's going to do. It's just waiting for you to give it a reason. Most intruders, the second they see a Rottweiler in that state, leave. Not because they've calculated bite force or read anything about the breed, just raw instinct. Something about a 110-pound dog staring at you in complete silence tells your nervous system to exit the building. Rotties are also deeply territorial about their homes specifically. This isn't a dog that's aggressive everywhere. It's a dog that's decided this house is its thing and treats violations of that accordingly. Okay, so those two make sense. Built for it. Act like it. But this next one is where it gets interesting, because the Malinois doesn't just protect. It goes somewhere else entirely. Belgian Malinois. The Malinois is what happens when you take working drive and forget to install an off switch. Most dogs hear something suspicious and bark. The Malinois is already moving before it's fully processed what it heard. Police and military use them specifically because of this. The reaction time is borderline unsettling. There's video of trained Malinois scaling walls, going through car windows, latching onto suspects mid-sprint. In a home invasion situation, a Malinois isn't waiting to see what happens. It's hunting. The honest thing to say, though, this is not a casual pet. People get Malinois because they've seen the military footage and want that dog. Then the dog arrives and starts bouncing off walls at 6 in the morning because it hasn't had 3 hours of exercise and mental stimulation yet. Wrong owner, wrong environment. It turns into a chaos machine that directs that energy at everything, including you. But if you actually know what you're doing with this breed, a robber encountering a Malinois in the dark is having a very bad night. Right. So, the Labrador Retriever, statistically one of the most popular family dogs on Earth. Here's what it does when someone breaks in. It wags its tail, possibly brings them a toy, follows them around the house checking if they want to play. I'm not even being harsh. This is just what labs do. They were bred to retrieve things and work alongside humans. All humans, not just their humans. The concept of stranger danger doesn't really live in a Labrador's brain. Everyone is a potential friend. The robber is just a new person to meet. Now, a lab might bark at the initial noise, But that's less intruder alert and more something happened, and I'm excited. A second the person is visible and not immediately threatening, the lab recalibrates to friendly mode. They're not useless as deterrents purely because of size. A 90-pound dog approaching you in a dark house is still alarming if you don't know it wants to be petted. But relying on a Labrador for actual protection is a gamble you will probably lose. The cane Corso is a bit like the Rottweiler reaction, but with more size and considerably less patience. These dogs were used in ancient Rome to guard property and go into battle. That's the lineage. The modern cane Corso still carries that instinct very intact, deeply bonded to its family, deeply suspicious of anything unfamiliar entering its space, and physically capable of backing that suspicion up. Males run 110 to 150 pounds, with a head that looks like it was designed to go through things. What makes the cane Corso particularly effective in this scenario? They don't posture much. Some dogs bark aggressively as a warning. The Corso tends to move quietly and get close. By the time a robber realizes what's happening, the dog is already right there. That's a very different psychological experience from a dog screaming from across the room. Not a beginner's dog. Needs a confident owner, early socialization, clear structure. But in the right hands, genuinely one of the most capable home protection animals alive. Chihuahua, the wild card. The Chihuahua will absolutely lose its mind. Full volume, completely unhinged, no concept of its own size. A Chihuahua at 2 a.m. sounds like a smoke alarm that's also furious. And weirdly, that matters. Noise is the thing most robbers want to avoid above everything else. The dog that creates maximum noise immediately, without hesitation, is a real deterrent, even at 4 pounds. Obviously, it can't physically stop anything. A robber who decides to push past the screaming is pushing past a Chihuahua. But most opportunistic break-ins, the guy checking unlocked doors in a neighborhood, they hear that noise and move on. Too much attention, too much risk. The Chihuahua is basically a very loud, very angry alarm system that also needs a blanket. Here's the actual takeaway from all of this. Breed matters, but it's not everything. A German Shepherd raised soft won't protect anything. A Labrador might accidentally charm a robber. The dogs that actually perform in these moments, Corso, Rottweiler, Malinois, trained GSD, they have two things in common. The instinct was bred in, and the owner put in the work. A dog isn't a security system you switch on. It's an animal that needs to know its job, know its family, and know that someone in the house is actually in charge. If your dog would greet a robber or freeze up, that's not the breed failing. That's information. Which breed do you have? Drop it in the comments and tell me honestly. Protection dog or welcome committee?